guys? What is up?
What's up, everybody?
Intro, Brian.
Yeah, you want to start with the intro, and then I'll intro Brian.
Okay. Welcome everyone to POV Crypto,
Wait, hold
the
up,
only
hold up. Start over again.
Okay.
I'm gonna record. All right, do it.
Welcome everyone to POV Crypto, the only podcast that both Bitcoiners and Ethereans listen to. I'm David Hoffman, here with my buddy Christian. Christian, how you doing?
Doing good. It's been a good day. Feeling like a princess. Also here with my boy Brian Harrington. Really excited for this one. One of the reasons I got into Bitcoin, and one of the things that kind of like made me able to understand Bitcoin, is from the lens of personal finance. I personally am very interested in how to not get wrecked and how to accumulate wealth and be successful. So Brian is one of the few people out there that really kind of comes at Bitcoin with that kind of a lens. Brian, welcome to POV Crypto.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate what you're doing. It's been fun following your guys' shows. I think it's cool the way you're trying to break down the echo chamber and just
appreciate what you're doing.
Being one of the early guys to the streaming game too. That makes me appreciate you guys too. So that's awesome.
Oh, cheers, Brian. Thanks.
So Brian, why don't you tell our audience like what's your deal? What motivates you to do what you do?
And what do you do? Thought that was funny. You're like, what's your shit? So what do you do? I'm a marketing, I'm just a marketing consultant. Like that's my, like, if I'm at a party where I'm trying to not talk about Bitcoin, I'm just like, oh, I'm a marketing consultant. Like, and then I just try to like play it up. Like, oh, like, so you mean like social media? Yeah. It's like social media. Like, and then that's just kind of where I try to like leave it and try to like let the person walk away and enjoy their evening.
Don't pull them into.
Yeah. But then when we just really get into it, I'm like, look, I grew up in budgeting from my dad. So I always knew about budgeting, moved to California, graduated college like a semester early, started to work for this bank. And because I always wanted to work for a bank. Everyone that was above me was making like $2 more an hour than me, but they were like 12 years older than me. And I'm like, okay, well, working at a bank is not going to work. And so then I got hired away to work on a political campaign and a movie at the same time. And I started making 1099 sole proprietor money for the first time. And the first time I sent an invoice to someone and they sent me money back, I was like, holy crap, like this is a real thing. And they're just like sending you money for talking about like marketing. And so that like kind of opened my eyes. And that was like 7 years ago. And so 7 years ago, people just keep calling me for political campaigns and keep calling me for marketing. And I keep helping them and they keep giving me money. So that's what happened on that. And then where Bitcoin comes in is in 2015, I would go to these make money online conferences with my dad and these marketing conferences with my dad, and we just tried different things online. We flipped our Coinbase referral back and forth to each other to just flip whatever the sign up was at the time, because I just wanted to make money on the internet. And that was like, and I don't care about signing up for things. And so that's how I got my first amount of Bitcoin. And then in like end of 15, beginning of 16, I would work on all these political campaigns until I would have months and months off at a time. And so I would sit at home and watch YouTube like a lot of people are right now and learn about Bitcoin. And so I learned Bitcoin from Tonebase and Jimmy Song on YouTube, just like a lot of people did. And that's how I learned it. And then the whole fork thing made me have to figure out what wallets were so that because Coinbase was like, oh, we're not going to give you your cut. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So I have to go somewhere else now. So I'll learn about wallets. And then I jumped down, and that's how I found, the whole second tier, Marty and Matt, you guys, and all the other pods that have just like grown and grown and grown. And then another part, I met like the Orange County Bitcoin crew. So Stephen Cole started the Orange County Bitcoin Network last 2019 Pizza Day. So 2019 Pizza Day, 7 of us were there. People that I'd only ever met on Twitter. Like I'd only ever talked to Stephen 2 times on Twitter, and go to that. And then, so over this whole last year, I've done more in-person Bitcoin and more learning about Bitcoin than I had, in my whole life. And specifically, this last 90 days have really been really pushed me to like, what is the point? And like, I'm really getting to this point where like, Bitcoin is not a thing that's happening in the future. Like Bitcoin is happening right now. And that's how I started formulating a lot of the, like, and that's how I started formulating a lot of my like budgeting things and like circular economy thinking, was because people started asking me, you know, like, well, how does it help me now? And I realized that like my hard money versus soft money like speech, like people started hitting like the way I was like that it had been hitting. Like something happened where I tapped everybody that I could with the hard money, soft money speech, and I realized that I needed a new speech. And so that's how I started thinking about, okay, how does it help me now? And I'm like, oh, holy crap, like no third parties means like all these other middlemen in the middle of all this other stuff. Like there's 15 people between you going to work and buying your groceries, and like Bitcoin fixes this. And so let's get all those people out of the way that you're having to pay on your way to the grocery store. And I don't know, that's how.
So
that's
what
been
does
my
that
last
mean?
like.
How does Bitcoin fix this?
Yeah, because that's like a Bitcoin circular economy means that no one else gets paid. It like when you're getting paid in Bitcoin and then you're buying your groceries in Bitcoin from a Bitcoin chef, no one else is getting paid. It's just you and the chef, and like that's the revolution. Like we're all holding Bitcoin. Savings is good. Hold your Bitcoin. Like hold your Bitcoin so that the total network value grows, and have your stash, because you should get paid for being early, and you deserve it. You should get paid for being early. But what if the new number to get off zero is how much like total food into your house per month, right? What if 5% of it was bought with Bitcoin? And not out of your savings stash, out of your like at time of purchase, swap into Bitcoin, buy it from the Bitcoin circular economy. Like what does that do for the ability for other people to start earning Bitcoin? And I'm not talking about charity. I'm not talking about going against your personal incentives, because I recognize that. I'm not a naive socialist or whatever label you want to say. I'm not asking people to act against their personal incentives. Do like but it's kind of the same thing as like buying local, right? Like buying local is not asking people to move against their personal incentives. Most of the time we kind of complain that it is because local stores cost more money. But inherently shop local does not have to mean move against your personal incentives. Some local stores also take advantage of that and charge more prices on purpose, and we don't negotiate with them. But in a barter meetup circular economy, don't be afraid to negotiate, but also don't be afraid to, swap into Bitcoin and pay in Bitcoin.
I think we hopped into the middle of this conversation, and I think we need to take a step back and define some terms.
Yeah, I agree
what
with that.
is a circular economy?
So I don't have an exact definition that I've ever read on a website or anything. I can say what I think it is.
That's what I want.
Okay, what I think. So circular economy is like the Bitcoin was earned and then it was spent, and the person that it was spent with still holds it. So it's never touching fiat. Like it's just Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is the unit. Yeah.
And so what about a fiat system is a non-circular economy? How would you describe an economy based off a fiat system?
Well, so the fiat system is like,
we're in a USD circular economy.
Yeah, the fiat system is a circular economy also.
Okay, so it's about generating an alternative circular economy.
Totally. And and in our circular economy, we don't pay middlemen to oppress all of us. Like that's where the value comes from. Is that you, like, when you're operating, like everything. This is where we are kind of jumping in the middle, like, because you guys just had Pierre on, and he does an expert job at explaining like the social justice reason for Bitcoin and just like the moral case for Bitcoin, right? So let's put all of that as just like, I don't need to repeat any of that. Like there's tons of people out there that preach all of that way better than I do. And I'm trying to take it to the second step of like, I've heard that, like, you guys have seen this whole hodl versus spend thing that like has kind of like crept its way up. And I think it's positive. I think it's awesome that is like creeping its way up. I think that's the exact next conversation. I think that's a great conversation to have. And I want to preach that they don't have to be exclusive things. You can take advantage of the Bitcoin network, like growing in its value. Buy early Bitcoin and let it grow in its value. That's awesome. But then also recognize that if you're bummed out about the state of the world, and you're out in the street protesting about XYZ political reason or XYZ oppression reason or XYZ inequality reason, when you are buying groceries with USD, you are paying that system. You're paying that system. So stop paying that system. 5%, like source five. It's like fair trade coffee. Like stop buying not like non-fair trade coffee. Stop buying sweatshop clothes. Like there's no blood on my money. There's no blood on my Bitcoin. Like there's no blood in the Bitcoin economy. There's blood in the USD economy. And so if you just think about, can 5% of the food you buy come from a Bitcoin source? And I don't even mind these gift card companies. I think these gift card companies are great. I think the gift card companies are an exact like easy way to get into it. Start getting into it, because these gift card companies still hodl the Bitcoin and use it to pay their employees too. So I don't think that's bad.
Shit, what was I going to ask? Okay, so the big problem that I see with generating this circular economy, and I guess this is an easy compromise to make. It's not all that bad, but like when you pay someone with your Bitcoins, like you're still denominating it in dollars, right? Like the ultimate Bitcoin circular economy is denominated in Bitcoins. Like, hey, I'll do this job for you for 0.1 Bitcoins or something like that. But and maybe that's putting the cart ahead of the horse. How much does it actually matter what we're denominating it in? Does it matter if we denominate our Bitcoin circular economy in dollars?
So that's a great question. Great question. I Nick Carter who you guys have had, loved his episode like on this, has been doing a great series on like what is a crypto dollar and like what is kind of these and the whole like stable coins and that kind of stuff. I don't think it's bad. I think that's a middle ground. I think a middle ground is invoices denominated in dollars, prices denominated in dollars, but paid in Bitcoin. I think that's but this is what I'm open to feedback on this. Like that's a next question that I'm open to feedback and open to hearing how other people do it. But that's the way that I've been able to manage the whole, because everyone's like, oh, well, what about volatility? And I'm like, there doesn't have to be volatility. Like you're just denominate it in whatever the dollar equivalent is and give them the Bitcoin equivalent at the time of the sale.
It's definitely possible to just buy Bitcoin when you need to spend it. Like you don't have to hold Bitcoin. That's kind of what Strike does in Jack Mahler's app. So kind of where I wanted to take it is like, I totally agree with you. I think that we have the tools to buy and spend. Maybe the taxing aspect of it is kind of whack. Personally, I don't think, like David was talking to me about how he thinks like you're a Bitcoiner if you denominate your value in Bitcoin. You're an Ethereum if you denominate your value in ETH, and you are still living in the traditional system if you denominate your value in USD. Like I don't have that hard, like I kind of agree, like you're a Bitcoiner when you start valuing what a Bitcoin means, like what a percentage of the 21 million coins means. I think that's what makes you a Bitcoiner, but I don't have a problem with, like, we are in a transition process. I don't have a problem with, compromising a little bit during the transition. I don't think that that's a bad thing, and I think stable coins on Ethereum are a perfect example of like compromising as part of the transition.
So I think your savings, I think your savings stash should be in the new world. And I put this in one of my budgeting things is like at the end of every month, I'm trying. It's a good month if I have more dollars in my bank account and more sats in my multi-sig account. And I can break down for you guys exactly how I do like each of my buckets from like a tangible perspective. But for like sats are my thing. Like sats are the thing that I'm trying to increase the amount of sats inside my multi-sig account. But then for the reason why I denominate my like the meals I buy in dollars is because that's how the majority of the labor coming into my household still is coming in like inside dollars, And so that I don't think is bad. But then yeah, sats, as long as sats are increasing your savings account, then that's my denomination for savings.
So let's talk a little bit about unless David wants to keep going on this, I'd like to talk a little bit about like what's your deal with personal finance, so, like high level, and then from there we can get into, I guess you kind of alluded to it, your sats and your USD balance sheet.
So personal finance, I grew up on, like, my parents taught me budgeting from like just the Dave Ramsey, like Christian, like I grew up going to church and stuff. So I don't know if this will connect with some people. Like the whole like you have three piggy banks and like 80% of your inbound goes into spending, 10% goes into savings, 10% goes into, giving it away. So I grew up on just kind of those envelopes. And then when you get older, it's all the whole just normal baby steps of like pay off all your debt first, you know, contribute to your 401k match because it's free money. And then, always in your savings account, you want to keep 3 to 6 months, expenses for emergencies. And then it's like anything after above that is what it is. And then it's like, try to keep your rent at a third or a quarter of your, so like all of that normal stuff. I think all of that applies. I think all like personal finance Twitter and personal finance YouTube nails all the baby steps. Like just as long as you're following the right person, do all the baby steps, do all the normal stuff, don't live with a lot of debt, do all that stuff. And then, so I think you guys are with me on that, right? Is there any like, yeah. So then the way I carry that over to Bitcoin,
Be responsible.
yeah, just be, yeah, totally. And I have something funny to say. Right. So cash, we should come back to cash versus like credit cards, because I'm a big credit card guy, and I realized that was infringing my ability to think about Bitcoin, because I am a credit card guy. Like part of my budgeting using like mint.com and stuff, like I would put all my monthly expenses on my credit card and then just pay it off at the end of every month, because that's how I like seeing the denominations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't like spending cash at places because it's hard for me to track, how much I'm spending at each place. So, but that's interesting because Bitcoin is like a cash system. Like when the money is leaving, it's like spending on your debit card. Same way, like I don't like spending on my debit card because I don't want to see that balance change until I'm ready. So, but whatever system you're doing as far as budgeting and just like working, like do that. But then I started recognizing that I kind of had the same buckets that I'm using in dollars, I'm now using with my sats. And so like I'll compare, like my checking account is my Samurai wallet. Like my savings account is my like Casa multisig. And then my like investment account is like BlockFi. And so I have a checking account, a savings account, and a leveraged account, and I'm using them each for different things. And so when I say that at the end of every month, I want my, savings account at Ally Bank to have more dollars in it, and I want my Casa multisig account to have more sats in it, that's all my surplus. All my surplus of, my labor and my wife's labor is like going into those accounts. And then our spending on our bills and on our meals and all our stuff is either coming out of our checking account or coming out of our Samurai wallet. And in that sense, our savings goals are not being infringed upon, regardless if we're spending in dollars or spending in, Bitcoin.
So where do US dollars come into play here, right? Because like you can also have like your normal US dollar savings account, which like, we're all members of the crypto community that thinks that our particular crypto asset is the new saving standards, but that doesn't mean that it's not volatile, right? So like while you're having your Bitcoin savings account, like how is your cash savings account impacted by that? Like are you having to juggle both, and like do you hold the same reserves in your cash account that you would have if Bitcoin hadn't existed?
Yeah, so good question. So currently I just do it 50-50. Like I kind of recognize that I like hit this equilibrium where I was trying to like overbalance it and try to overly touch it all the time. And I just kind of arrived at like just this 50-50, like 50 liquid cash, 50, liquid Bitcoin. And so of the savings we have available, yeah, just 50 in cash and 50 in Bitcoin.
Any questions, Christian?
So one of the things, I feel like you really kind of came in with like, we need to create a circular Bitcoin economy. I know that you have some questions for David about DeFi. I have to admit that one of the best things for Ethereum when it comes to quote unquote DeFi is that whatever pitfalls it has, it is a circular Ethereum economy. It runs on Ethereum, it runs on stablecoins that runs on Ethereum, it pays fees. It is like David has talked about this. It is creating a economy inside of itself. Do you look at like
an internal economy? Yeah,
sure. Do you look at what's happening on Ethereum and like what's your impression of that?
So I don't know a lot about it. Like that's honestly what I was gonna come and ask about because I don't know, like say all my stuff on Bitcoin and dollars is like dialed in, like I don't know how to get involved. Like it really kind of just is the classic, like, what do you want me to do with this like information? Because like and I can lay some of my like biases, like preconceived notions out there. So like one of the preconceived notions is like I'm already using BlockFi. Like I'm already lending out my Bitcoin to shorts, like using BlockFi. And so I guess it's like and this is a preconceived notion. So preconceived notion is that like DeFi is more risky. So I'd want to get paid higher than the 6% that I'm getting paid on the Bitcoin. So I don't know, is that like, am I wrong in that? And like what products should I be, how do I get involved?
Yeah. So if you're getting more in APR with BlockFi over a year, I would say that like as a benefit to you, there's probably not much if that's what you are looking for. And I'm pretty sure BlockFi is also insured, right? So if something goes wrong, like you have that insurance backing. I could be wrong on that.
I don't think it is. I don't.
Oh, is
the
it?
thing that gives me comfort about BlockFi is that I just feel like the whole thing's juiced by VC money right now, and I have no problem saying
Right.
that. Like I think
Right.
the way that they like the depositors are at the top of the stack if something goes wrong, but there's no official insurance, and they have their whole reserves based on whoever's money.
They also have your KYC info.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And so if you kind of pitch me on like DeFi can do the same thing in a different way.
Right. So there's totally ways to migrate your Bitcoin onto DeFi and then lend out your BTC inside of DeFi. But I think the better, more useful use is using your Bitcoin as like collateral for for a cash loan, right? Mm-hmm. And so like you can top up your cash savings or pay off your credit cards or do whatever. And you can do that with your in a trustless manner with your Bitcoin as collateral with a no KYC system, right? And then for European people, if you, I believe you do have to KYC to do this. I'm not too sure. You can use your Bitcoin and you can pull out a DAI loan out of Compound or MakerDAO or something, and then you can top up your Monolith DeFi card, and it's connected to a smart contract wallet, and it's a Visa card, and you can just go anywhere and spend money. And it takes, you spend $10 and it'll probably take like $10.50 out or worth of DAI out of your smart contract wallet on Ethereum. And so you literally don't need a bank account then at that point. You just have this smart contract wallet with stablecoin in it. And when you swipe it at your local grocery store, you can spend that. And so your cash account, your bank account with dollars in it is also on Ethereum, right? And so you get that whole seamless system. I don't know if you have to KYC with them or not, but I'm pretty sure we should probably assume that you do. So like it kind of just gets everything closer together, right? That circular economy is a closer loop.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think.
So what I took from that is that rather than just using dollars and Bitcoin, you dump it all onto the Ethereum infrastructure and clog it all up.
I guess. Oh, I remember. Well, go ahead on that. Or I didn't know you could do it for cash. So, like, I guess the thing with BlockFi. So when you take when you put your Bitcoin up at BlockFi and you get dollars out, they're USD dollars. So but if you're saying I can put it in a DeFi product, can you get USD or you can only get crypto dollars?
Well, you can only spend USD. I mean, actually, you probably spend euros too, but it takes that amount of value that you spent out at your store, and then it takes that amount of value out of the stable coins that you have in your that's linked to your smart contract wallet that's linked to a Visa card. So you can probably have DAI, you can probably have USDC in there.
Who sends you the Visa card?
The company that runs this.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there's almost certainly KYC the more I think about it.
Yeah, because so then that's kind of the same as BlockFi. When BlockFi comes out with their card, it's kind of the same. I'm hoping. I hope on their roadmap is to eventually settle the credit card bill in BTC. That would be kind of the same. I agree. To me, I kind of see those things as kind of the same, like what Fold and BitRefill are doing right now. Kind of. But it's like,
I would say that it is.
Cool.
it is trivially easy to separate your non-KYC accounts, your private accounts, from your DeFi card KYC accounts. And you can top up your KYC accounts with money without having to expose your non-KYC accounts. That is possible. So you do get to like separate your savings from your checking.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to kind of turn it back towards like budgeting in general. Like when you're looking at how people in the Bitcoin space and the crypto space in general talk about money, like what's your reaction? Do you think that like a lot of people have like what's the personal finance competency levels?
I think really high. Like I'm not going to talk down on that. I think really high. I think I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt and have hope, but also say I think really high. Also because of the really strong opinions about how to take advantage of like the new technology. You know, like people. I think the reason why people are so passionate about just I don't know like hodl only is because they're like because they're frugal, squeezing value out of things people. Like they're competitive people, you know, which is not bad. Like that's me. Like I'm frugal. Like I don't like spending money. I like, you know, finding every last way to get value out of something. And so I think
or
that's
not
where
leak value, right?
right. Not be taken advantage of. I mean, that's a lot of reason why people are passionate about Bitcoin, is because they don't want to be taken advantage of. They recognize that the system, you know, is hurting people. And I guess that's where I feel the same way, but that's where like but I'm kind of getting this point where it's like I need help now. Like I already feel like I'm paying too much, you know, to other people now. And so I'm like I need to buy groceries like in this thing right now. And I need to get my time back right now. It's like so we all talk so passionately about like, you know, the system is stealing our time, it's stealing our labor. And I've kind of gotten to this point where it's like I think it's time to dump the tea in the harbor. Like I think the stuff works. Like I think Bitcoin works. Like I don't really have any I don't really have any opinions about, you know, scaling or like macro. Like I think it works, and I think it's gonna work. And I don't really care. I don't know if I can fully stand on this, but I'm gonna say it, like I don't really care if like it's on layer 1 or layer 2. Like I understand there's trade-offs, and I understand there's multiple things happening in all directions with layer 2 and side chains and whatever. And I think almost like a bigger circular economy, I think would almost incentivize that stuff to happen faster. And so I've been trying to figure out like there's no downside for me participating in the circular economy more. Like I've actually learned more about Bitcoin. Like I've actually sent and received more transactions after, you know, being a part of the circular economy than I did while I was just, you know, cash apping and withdrawing it. So in that sense, I feel like it's a net benefit, you know, to the network.
So how has the factor that Bitcoin's 21 million hard cap, do you think that's impacted like just the way that you consider making purchases or not? Right. So
Totally.
like I think one of the reasons why I think this space is filled with people that are generally more competent when it comes to personal finances is one, selection bias, because this whole industry is about finance, right? So obviously you're going to get finance knowledgeable people in there, but also just the culture. Well, it's hard because like the culture is around hard, sound money, right? And so that promotes savings, but also it's a culture of like we're all about to get rich because these things are going to go to the moon. So it's hard to juggle that. So how do you juggle that?
I think that I'm trying to be. I had some. It was like that I'm trying to be free. Like I'm trying to unlock I'm trying to unlock even more savings. I'm trying to unlock even more savings. And I think that can be, if there was more Bitcoin merchants, then like the other day in Huntington Beach, I was driving around and I saw this sign for gas. There was a 90-cent spread between the cash price for gas and the credit card, debit card price for gas.
Wow.
It was the biggest I'd ever seen. You know, like you're used to seeing 10 cents, 15 cents, you know, and because you get it. The debit cards cost money or whatever. It was 90 cents. And they had a big sign up that said like best cash price in town. That's what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin. And I just recognized, like, you know how I said I'm bad at I'm not used to operating in cash economy. I like my credit cards, but I've been forcing myself the last few weekends to go to some cash only restaurants that I normally would kind of skip over and not want to go there. And I was just realizing like there's people in the fiat economy that are going harder at cutting out middlemen than like in the crypto, like in crypto sometimes. So when people talk about like a restaurant has a giant sign that says cash only, like we all know what that means. No one needs me to explain what that means.
Mhm.
And I think just coronavirus and everything in general has really accelerated that for me. That like all businesses feel like a gray market at this point. It's a giant hassle to go to the grocery store right now. A giant hassle. Like
Mhm.
they took the DMV experience and laid it on the grocery store. Like they messed up. They messed up and ruined a lot of people's lives. Like, you
Mhm.
can't walk outside now without just your mental space being like shifted. And regardless of any however serious you feel that it is or isn't, like the world is different now. And so that's what made me start to think about like maybe we can go to the moon and Trader Joe's at the same time. Like maybe it isn't this like thing that has to be so different.
Mhm.
So what does it take to convince people to get into the Bitcoin economy? Like it's not easy. I do agree with you that eventually people will value. Like I think it's because number go up, people will value Bitcoin and therefore offer discounts for services in exchange for Bitcoin rather than take it on the lip with cat or with credit card, especially online
Mhm,
merchants. Like they
mhm,
online merchants have never been able to just accept cash, but now because of
mhm.
Bitcoin and crypto, it's possible. Like, where do you see this transition? Like, how do you think it evolves?
So I think there's going to be two ways. I don't think arguing with like I'm not trying to argue with any like hodlers. Like do your thing. Do your thing. And I hodl too and everybody like but I love that this topic is being brought up and I want to hear other people's like opinions. Number one, like first and foremost. But I think there's going to be a whole class of like merchants and new people that come into it because of the commerce side. Like the chef, like we have this guy who he hasn't even been to an Orange County Bitcoin meetup. Like but someone from our meetup convinced him to start taking Bitcoin and he delivers meals now like on Fridays. And and at least two of us are doing it and I just tell the rest of the group like anybody can do this like with this guy and he delivers food. So he doesn't know, he hasn't listened to an hour of Bitcoin podcast in his life. Completely new. Completely just new. And this buddy was like, hey, like you need business because your business is hurting. There's these people that are down. And so now, so the first Bitcoin this guy ever got was from earning it. Like, or it was some of the first Bitcoin he ever got was from earning it. And that's some like weird thing that we all sit around and talk about. Like, how do we get people earning? How do we do it? And like that's the first thing this guy ever did was like one of the hardest things for people that are just like in buy it mode. And so that's what made me start thinking I have this room, like I have a room in my house for rent, like that I'm trying to find like someone from the meetup to, like stop paying whoever else you're paying and I'll give you a discount to like, and that'll create more inbound for me to do, more stuff with. And so I think it just takes people being I think it just takes examples. Like I think people just want to see examples. And I think part of it, dude, people are doing it. There's plenty of people living on crypto that could talk about it way better than I do, way more articulate than I do, with way more experience than I do. But for whatever reason, I don't know, OPSEC or privacy or whatever, they don't want to talk about it. And that's what I kind of got to this point of like, I don't really care. Like I'm publicly like here's the deal. The only thing that will save the United States of America is a Bitcoin circular economy. Like I want to talk about it because I think I don't appreciate the way our country is treating people. Sorry, and so that's kind of where I started coming at this thing from of so I do have other motivations other than just like trying to use this technology or trying to bother some people on Twitter. Like I'm not. I'm like taking everything I've learned and all the thousands of hours of me listening to everybody else talk, and I'm trying to say, hey, like I think this thing works. I think entrepreneurs being able to do business with each other in cash is a pretty revolutionary thing that like helped our country, and I think we should do more of that. Like, that's what I'm saying, and so I don't. That's where, and I think that, and honestly, I think that message resonates. Like I think that message does resonate with people, and so I don't really want to. I'm not trying to put anybody else down while I'm saying that. Like I'm just saying I think there's people don't need to be explained what cash is. People don't need to be explained what money is. They know what cash is and they know what money is. They just need to know how to use Bitcoin. And that's where I just want to hear more people talk about how they use Bitcoin. How do you use it in your day-to-day life? And what's the Sunday school answer that you're supposed to throw back in my safe? Well, savings is using. I agree. Look, I agree. But how else? Like how I think people, this guy literally asked me today on Twitter, or he didn't ask me, but I replied, like, how else can I get involved? What else can I do? And I think people are genuinely asking that. What else can I do? But dude, and this isn't just a rant session on Twitter, but like answer people's questions. Like don't give them speeches. Like if someone's like, oh, how do I spend Bitcoin or where can I spend Bitcoin? Don't give them a speech about hard money versus soft money. Just tell them where they can spend it. They can spend it at Fold, and they can spend it at BitRepo, and they can spend it with Chef Rick from the OC Bitcoin Network. Like that's the answer. And then let them ask the next question. Like don't try to program them into your finance, budgeting. And so
because they're going to go there anyways, right? Like as soon as you are owning Bitcoin, a meaningful amount of Bitcoin, like you're going to figure out what that side of the world is. Like you're going to be funneled there anyways. I do think like because adoption always happens in cycles, right? And so we all think like we're on the cusp of this bull market, and this bull market's going to come, and there's going to be a bunch of new adoption. And we saw this in the last wave where there's a bunch of like these services like earn.com that allow you to like do some work for some Bitcoin, right? Or for some crypto. And I think a lot of people like the traditional way is just you buy Bitcoin on an exchange, right? But I think in this particular wave, there's going to be, and especially with coronavirus, where there's a lot of unemployment, and if Andrew Yang is correct, there's not going to be the same amount of employment no matter what at the end of this. And so the way after this next hype cycle where Bitcoin becomes like a family dinner table name once again, people are going to be like, all right, how do I get my hands on some Bitcoin, because I don't have any money but I do want to work. And so I think working for Bitcoin is actually going to become a very common thing, and it's going to be the way that a lot of people get onboarded into this space. And I'm really optimistic about that as like a driver for both adoption and frankly just price number go up, is like a lot of people want to work for Bitcoins.
Right. Totally agree. And I'm frustrated with people that immediately rush in and say, and just try to immediately talk down the idea. Like rather than like, honestly, I just want to sit on it. And like, I agree. Like, it's okay to just agree. I think we kind of all try to be the like one upper, like smart guy, and rush in with like, David, that's impossible, because of taxes. Dude, what? Like,
that is a conversation I do want to turn to, is taxes.
Yeah. And we should talk about it. It's a thing. But like, no, I agree. Like the world is changing. It's a new game. And again, back to like, that's why I like talking about the cash economy. People work for cash and underreport it every day, every single day. And so when people like, there's no me sitting here on YouTube and saying people work for cash and don't report it. That's not a groundbreaking thing. And that's not a thing where I'm going to get door knocks on my door for saying that.
I mean, you follow the incentive. Like, would you like to pay less taxes? Then underreport here. And like it's obviously it's going to happen. It's baked into the incentives.
Totally. Yeah. And like, there's a ton of people, Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, crypto, not crypto, that don't appreciate the way the government's treating them right now. And so they're like, the fact that tax protesting is like a normie thing right now is even more like, that's all pent up crypto demand.
Yeah. And go ahead, Christian.
I was gonna say, let's talk about how do you like you introed this conversation by saying like you stumbled into the circular economy kind of bent because you needed a different way to talk about Bitcoin. It couldn't just be about hard money anymore. Can you talk a little bit about like I feel like living today is a why Bitcoin commercial, why hard money commercial, why cryptocurrency commercial. Like, how do you go about talking, and like, what's your narrative to convince Chef Rick to start accepting Bitcoin even though he doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like, what do you have to lose? Like, there's potential new customers that'll pay you in this. And there's no real downside to your time to like downloading this app and like putting this QR code on a flyer. So there's not a lot of downside. And then the other way I talk about it is just, I think, just as it's something new. Like people try new apps all the time. Like, do you remember, dude? I hit my Postmates link so many times. Like I'm proud of how early I was to Postmates and how many free ice creams I got from telling other new people about Postmates, dude. They would deliver me free boba all the time. They would run like Orange County promos and just deliver things. And so and we're telling other people like, have you gotten this? Like, do you have this app? And it's like that's what Bitcoin can be. It doesn't have to be confusing. And so that that's how I pitch it. I just pitch it as like it's a thing. Like this is happening. And then when they do, what are the initial questions? The initial questions are, well, what can you buy with it? And so instead of brushing them off, I just rattle off a few things, and they're like, oh. And then they're like, well, how do you hold it? And then I like show them the open dime on my keys, and they're like, oh. Like, and then they're like, boom, there's two right out of the bat. Like, rather than like trying to super like act smart guy on them, just be normal. Be like, you can spend it this app and you can hold it on this USB drive.
Because they're asking you the questions that they want answers to. They're not asking you different questions that they don't know the answer to, that they don't know to ask. They want something, and maybe you think that they want hard money, and maybe they do, but not at that present moment.
Yeah, totally. Everybody feels crushed. Everybody works longer hours and makes less money. And everybody's mad at the government. Everybody has that. 90% of this country has that common.
I would like to not pay 30% income tax. That is very true. 30%. That's a lot. That's a big number.
Totally. That's a messed up number. That's a messed up number.
It's an extortion number.
Yes. Yeah. And Bitcoin circular economy is putting the rubber on the road, like of that. And so, yeah, dude. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry that some sales tax may or may not have gotten cut out on here. I'm sorry. Like, if you guys turn it around and like, dude, I've worked for these people. I've worked for county supervisors. I've worked for state assembly people. I've worked for congressional campaigns. It's like we really have. I don't think it's that weird that we've reached this point in this country where it's like, hey, please stop. I'm glad you brought up Andrew Yang too. Like, I really liked him. Like, I'm a conservative. Like, I really liked Andrew Yang, and I thought it was a really bummer when he endorsed the establishment. Like, we need people to be different and be free thinkers, and not bow. Like, he should have started the podcast, and he should have done his like nonprofit thing that he is doing. He could have done all that stuff without endorsing the establishment. And he could have continued to be a different person and a true game changer. Like, that's what this country needs, is like people like him to just walk away. Like, just walk away. Like, go on strike from the rigged game. You tried, and you're ahead of your time, and only 5% of people agreed with you. So walk away. Like, walk away and build a circular economy with those 5% of people. And then here's something. Here's the vision for circular economy, okay? When the shock of number go up wears off, it's going to be replaced with, wow, the roads work better in that part of town. That's what it's going to be replaced with. That's the vision, dude. Like, that's the moon. That's the citadels. Like, it's right now. The citadels are at hand right now. The moon is at hand right now. We're on the moon. Oh, back to the whole unit thing. Like, when your unit of account is sats, you're always paying in Bitcoin. You're always paying in Bitcoin.
So
it doesn't matter what the rails are anymore. But like, the citadels are at hand right now. The citadels are happening. Like Orange County is a citadel. We're removing ourselves from the rigged game right here in place.
I like that. Something that Ansel Lindner talks about is that he thinks that, like, let's move forward a few years, a lot more QE. Bitcoin adoption is going to be driven by the fact that it's the growth is going to be built on the Bitcoin system, and it's not going to be built on the fiat system. So I can feel that. Brian, thanks for coming on, and like these are kind of revolutionary ideas, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people are saying like stack sats and then put everything else in your credit card, but the idea that you are supporting the existing system by using your credit card, and you're not supporting the Bitcoin system, the Bitcoin world, and moving the world to Bitcoin by not spending sats, it makes complete sense. And if you're going to spend money, you might as well incentivize a homie or someone close to you to accept the sats and get them on their Bitcoin journey and get them valuing Bitcoin too. I don't see how that's a bad thing.
Totally.
Cool.
And with BTC Pay Server, like, dude, meetups and BTC Pay Server, like, get someone in the meetup to know how to run it so that they can help merchants run it. And then you be the server. You be the person who runs the server for your county.
Uncle Jimming. Let's go. All right, Brian, thanks for coming on the show. Why don't you tell our audience where they can find you if they want to learn more?
Cool, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. My website's brianharrington.org. And then I've also been helping out, like, appreciate everybody who hangs out on YouTube and hangs out on Periscope. I've been helping George McHale shoot a show called Monday Night Bitcoin. And we're trying to come at it from this place of just earn, save, spend, and just overarching, focused on new people. And would love if you guys hang out with us on Monday Night Bitcoin also. So yeah, their website is bitcoinis.com and my website is brianharrington.org.
Here's Ryan. Thanks for coming on. You can follow the podcast at POV Crypto Pod. You can follow me at Trustless Date, both on Twitter and on Bankless. Christian?
Hey, you guys can find me at CK_Snarks. You guys make sure 5-star reviews on POV Crypto. Thanks a lot for watching.